Hi there, everyone. This is Nicole from NicoleMLouis. I'm the social worker strategy mentor, and today I'm here again with another one of my clients. I'm going to ask her to introduce herself in a moment. I'm really wanting to interview this wonderful woman because she has an amazing story, and I want her to share with you all how she is making strides and movements towards becoming an independent social worker despite facing challenges. And I know for a fact she's going to inspire many of you, and many of you are going to be able to relate to things that she's talking about. So without further ado, I'm going to ask you just really briefly, Manjit, introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself.
Hiya, my name is Manjit and I'm from West Midlands, and I started in social work in 2000, qualified in 2000.
Okay, and tell us a bit about your background, your context. So what area are you working with, adults or children? You know, tell us, are you a mother?
Yeah, so personal life, I'm daughter, sister, friend. I haven't got to become a mom yet, but I will be at some point as well. But I'm carer because my mom, dementia, my aunt's got post-polio, so I'm like main support for them too. And then for my nieces and nephews and that sort of thing. Work related, I'm children's services, but I did span out to adult services for a while. So from 2000 to 2010 I was with children's services in local authorities, the same local authority for about 10 years. And then from 2010 for the next 10 years until 19, I was in charitable sector right up to service lead and to end of working life. And that was my vision, to have a better appreciation of the full life course, because of what I wanted to go on to next. I wanted to really understand how trauma and all of that impacts us as adults and elderly. So that's my background in a very quick kind of.
Brilliant. Wow. So you're very, very experienced, I'm hearing, in working with children and adults, specifically around trauma. And you've spoken about the fact that in your personal life, you are, a carer yourself and working. I mean, most people, many people ourselves, even as social workers, we experience our own trauma as well. And I guess while maybe being a carer may not necessarily be, people may not associate it with trauma, I guess it is very challenging, I imagine, to be a carer and to work with, especially when it's so close to you as being your parent and your aunt also being unwell. So wow, you've got a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know that you also have health difficulties as well.
Yeah, so in social work I ended up with burnout, and it was just the same situation as anybody else prior to all of the extra supports coming in around about 2010. So there was lots of changes that happened. We lost the management because the manager had gone off sick, senior practitioners all moved on to a post. So I ended up with a massive responsibility on my shoulders, and had only been in social work 4 years, and it went on for a couple of years. So then it caught up with me, ended up with chronic pain syndrome. And since 2014 I've had that, and I'm basically in pain every single day, severe pain, and I'll have pain flare-ups, and so I've spent some time in my life in that time learning how to work and live with this condition and having a quality of life. And I'll say now I definitely have a good quality of life, a really good sense of my health, and I've not worked apart from 1 year, and that was 2010. That's the trauma side. My brother passed away out of the blue in 2009, and that was my time. It was to say, stop, Manjit, you need to do what you really want to do. And I know it's sad that we let ourselves keep going until something big happens in our lives, but it really gave me that stopgap to say, your health comes first, and then you need to get your dreams going, because we're not here forever. So yes, that was a difficult time, but it definitely came with so much growth after it. So it was from that point I went to charitable, really enjoyed what I did there with learning, development, developing people. And then 2019 is when I put myself on LinkedIn, and I came across you on social media. I knew I wanted to go back to social work, but I knew that I didn't want to end up in local authority long term because that doesn't suit my health. So I was like, okay, how do I get from A to B? And that's where I found you.
Okay, wow, that's so amazing. So it's amazing how God lines things up, doesn't he? If you're a believer and if you're somebody that's into that sort of thing, yeah, wow, that's quite providential that you were looking and then suddenly I appeared. Okay, so I mean, there's a couple of things that stand out for me there in terms of what you said, was that you knew what you wanted to do but wasn't sure how, but you were actually making and taking active steps to get there. So it tells me that you're a bit of an action taker, which is amazing. It's brilliant. And so you really have got a lot on your plate. You've been through a lot, you're going through a lot, but you're continuing to go forward nonetheless. Okay, so I guess you've described some of the difficulties that you were having before you started working with me, and I guess we've done a couple of things together, haven't we? You were part of the first cohort of students on the Social Workers March to Freedom course, and more recently you were part of the Goal Planners members group, where I launched and looked at the Goal Planner journal that I've created in line with mentoring and the Get Organised secret system. Social workers who need to sort out their caseload and get on top of their work. And so I guess tell me a bit about, before you found the course and before you went on the course, what were the feelings you were having around what you were doing?
Yeah, the big word I would use for me was confidence. There was a kind of imposter syndrome feeling because I'd been out of social work for 10 years, direct front line, and you almost tell yourself that, oh, I haven't got the experience, but I've got 20 years experience. I knew where I wanted to get to. Where I want to get to is being able to provide services specifically for children with trauma and adverse life experiences and whatnot. And I know what we do in the local authority and I love the work there, but I knew I wanted to do something more targeted and specialised. And I know that there's a lot of difference we can really make, and sometimes we can be frustrated in social work, whether it's local authority, whether it's long-term teams, fostering teams. Sometimes it can be frustrating as to how much impact you're making. But yeah, still enjoying the work there. But for me, it was the confidence, and it was some of the stuff I didn't know to do with setting up of a business. A part of having a mentor is the confidence side, but also helping you to be more specific and more clear as to your goals, so that you're continuing to drill down, so it's not wishy-washy. So that initial boot camp was brilliant, that business starter boot camp. It was a fantastic thing. I forgot how many days it was, but it was a really good schedule. And you started off on the first thing, it was independence and communities. You did workshops, coaching calls, and then we did weekend catch-up calls. And those
I remember it really well. And it was
the master classes were really good as well, but it gave me that shake that I needed. It gave me that shake to say, yeah, this is what you know, and actually you do know more than you think you know, and this is what you need to do next. And then that just was the beginning of the following year then.
And I know that you went on to enroll in the course as a student. What was the key thing that you learned from that?
Okay, so basically, just in terms of my journey then, because I decided I wanted to get back into social work in 2019, and then obviously I'm not going to jump into becoming an independent social worker straight away. I need to get back into social work, and that was to do with my gaps in knowledge, like legislation had moved on, like the interventions we used, whereas up to 2010 there were interventions, and there's not been massive changes in that we still use the same theories, we still use the same systems. However, the interventions are more drilled down, they're more clear now, and so it was just catching up with my knowledge, reminding myself, for example, of child development. If you don't look at child development for ages, you're going to drop that knowledge base because you're picking up all the other knowledge that you're picking up. So I think I went on to a short return to social work course. At that point I was doing my service lead role with Catch 22, and that was with a local authority, and so I was doing that. I was doing a piece of work with a local authority, with a charity, working together, and it was just about what I was going to do next, really.
So it sounds as though doing the Social Workers Launch of Freedom helped you recognise that there were things that you wanted to cover.
Yeah.
It was able to help you identify the specific areas you wanted.
The Social Workers Freedom Programme was basically taught me all the stuff that I knew, highlighted what I didn't know, and highlighted what I needed to refresh myself on. So the stuff I didn't know, that was going to be stuff that I'd be picking up with yourself in terms of the next part of the course for over the next year. And that was to do with how to set up a business and all that type of stuff, marketing, all that, and lots more than just those things. But then there was the stuff that I needed to refresh on, and that's what made me go back to this Return to Social Work course. Brilliant. Through the LGA.
Okay, so the course is over 7 modules and there are 64 lessons. So if I remember right, you've done the first half of the course right now. It's an 8-week course, but you've done the first half of it, and that was enough and meaty enough to reinforce and validate and help you with confidence in the areas that you were aware of, the knowledge that you knew, so that you can build on that. And then the areas that highlight I need to know more in this area, so now I need to go back.
Yeah, I think from doing that, I realised I needed to write. Yeah.
You were saying that basically the course gave you, the first part of the course that you've completed has reaffirmed and given you the confidence, and it helped you to identify your gaps of knowledge that you need to deal with and sort out. And also, I think I recall you saying that there were personal things that it helped you to work on also with your health, so that you're able to move forward, and now you're ready to complete the course, because even though it's an 8-week course, you get access for a whole year, and so you're still within that year, but you've made
so basically after doing that 4 weeks, or after doing half of it, I was like, okay, so another action plan's coming out of this, because I'm a real action planner, and when I identify a gap, I go away and do something about it. If I identify something that I need to work on, much like obviously what we do with our service users, our young people, our clients, I am somebody who identifies something about themselves. Okay, I really want to sort that out. I really want to get to the bottom of that. And so it highlighted for me, professionally and personally, gaps for myself, not just gaps, but areas I wanted to do differently, or things I wanted to work on differently. So, for example, managing my health, working as a service lead of a charity, travelling around the country but not driving, managing the whole care and work, and having a personal life where I'm enjoying life, because part of that is, as you get older, it's just like, I'm not going to be living to work, I'm going to be working so I can live. And so there was a lot of things I was doing personally as well, in terms of learning about myself, so I'm connecting with myself. So what I do come up with in terms of a business plan is it speaks me, it's me, I'm the business, rather than it's just a part of me. I can put my soul into it, I can put my heart into it. So I had to go away for a while and do some work, which was do this course that I did, get myself into a different job, back into the local authority, because the service league has come to an end, and then it was like I wanted to get back into local authority to start refreshing the skills, and it was to do with what do I need to strengthen in terms of my confidence, and in terms of like time frames and finances. So I needed to start looking at what my journey was for the next few years for my own life, for this business plan. Everything has to be in line with each other. Well, for me, I like to know what I'm looking forward for, and so I needed to think about how is a business going to fit into my lifestyle, having health problems, and what kind of money I would need in the background, and what would be the minimum amount, and things like that. And that's still stuff I've got to think about, the money, but I know I was able to build a skeleton around it, I think, from that initial course.
That's brilliant. And so the rest of the course that you're going to finish off, because I think you're going from launch phase 1 onwards now, so you've got 3 or 4 modules left to go, and so those are some of the things that you're going to cover, and much more. And like you said, the marketing, networking, developing your services and all that stuff. You're going to be going into that a lot more as you finish the Social Workers Launch to Freedom course. So that's exciting. That's coming up. I mentioned that you also took part in the goal planning session, and you've spoken a little bit about the fact that you're very clear on your goals. You know what you want. And so share a little bit about what were the difficulties that you were having briefly, and the frustrations that you were feeling around goal setting and hitting your goals. What made you join the club, I guess? What made you get started?
I think sometimes when procrastination, when you don't know how to do something.
Yeah.
So if there's something that's really far out of your field of knowing how to do something, we've got our spheres of control, spheres of influence. When I know how to do something and I know where else, I'm always fine at asking for help and going somewhere and finding something out. But when it's something that's really out of my comfort zone, that's where I can sometimes procrastinate a little bit. And that is the business side of things. Any day of the week, you give me any service user, I'm happy to go and learn about the service user group. If it's a gap, for example, if it's asylum seekers I've never worked with, I'm happy to go away and learn and throw myself in. But when it comes to business, I kind of shrivel up a little bit. It was a lot to do with the imposter syndrome, and it was a lot to do with the business side of it. And that's where it kind of hit some of the goal setting. So all my goal setting was around the areas I was confident in, and the goal setting around the areas I wasn't so confident in. I wasn't setting as many goals, or they needed guidance. Okay. So what we were able to do was help me to drill down in terms of time frames, in terms of detail of goals, in terms of being more specific and the different types of goals that I'd need. So
Okay, brilliant. And so share a bit about the mentoring, because obviously the mentoring that connected with that goal setting session was a month long. And share a little bit about your experience of the mentoring, and whether, do you feel it would have been helpful if I was there or not there? Would it have made a difference? What was it about the mentoring that assisted the process in your view, if at all? And be honest.
Okay, so so I'm actually somebody who enjoys having coaching and mentoring. So I've had experiences of coaching and mentoring before, and so I was actually very comfortable with it. And I'd had coaching online, I'd had it on the phone, through different times of making changes. For example, when I moved from becoming a social worker to coming away from social work in 2010, I did that through some mentoring back then. So anyway, so I was comfortable with the fact that I wasn't in London, or I wasn't working close to you, so I wasn't seeing you face to face, so I was okay with that. That didn't cause any barriers for me in the way we communicated. And also you were very good in terms of time, like you were so flexible because of work life and family life. You were just very flexible in terms of when we would have our sessions, when I would be looking at work, and several times I had to change my goals because of health, because of things that was happening around me, like the environment and stuff, just like COVID at the moment, do you know what I mean? It kind of throws things out. It's not in your control. So you were very flexible in that sense. And I think that's about being human and about knowing your limitations while still moving forward with what you've got and saying, okay, this is what we can't do, but let's look at doing it a different way. Let's do it this way. Let's do it that way. So that was excellent. And then you always fitted in with where I was on my career goals. So my short term, mid-term and long term was a really important phase as well, understanding and drilling down on what my short term was, mid-term, and how they all fitted in together, and how I wasn't going to get to my long-term goal, which is a business, if I don't do my mid-term and short term. You weren't saying to me, no, you must start your independent journey now. You were recognising where I was in terms of my health and also my finances, my career aspirations for myself, that I do want to spend some more time in local authority yet. I want to get a bit more experience of just being around local authority again. And I feel like I've established quite a lot of specialist knowledge about the service user group that I want to work with. However, there are a few gaps even within that. So that was an appreciation of that. So I think it was just like a meeting of minds I had with myself. And that,
brilliant.
This is where I'm at now. And what else is there, Nick, that I need to think about?
So brilliant. So that's good, because I know after every consultation I always give a feedback form, so you get an action plan with that, and you get the replay and everything. So that was good. And I remember the consultations that we've had have been very fruitful, and because you are such a go-getter, and I think that's the difference for somebody like yourself, who even if you're not sure about what you want to do, you know what you want, you're not sure how to get there, but you're an action taker. Once you're given the information, you'll act on it. And I think that's one of the single most important things in your story that I want people watching this to take away. That actually, regardless to whether you've got health problems, whether you're a carer, whether you're having a difficult time at work, the key thing is if you start actually taking action, you will actually get to your goal, because you're well and truly on your journey. And you're doubling down, and you are engaging with the services and the products that are available to you, and you're utilizing them, you're really utilizing them, and that's exciting to see. So I'm super excited about the rest of your journey and completing the course that you have access to, and continuing to utilize the journal and everything like that, and the Get Organized system to help you manage work. I am super, super excited about your progress and your journey, and I'm so grateful for you sharing. The last thing that I want to ask is, what would you say to those people that are maybe on the fence? Would you recommend the Goal Plan and Journal, the Get Organized system, the Social Workers Launch to Freedom, the consultations, and why?
Yeah. So for me, I think I did want to leave some kind of parting comments. It's to do with having this opportunity to be working with somebody one-to-one, where you are setting your goals, and we are accountable to ourselves, but it's to have somebody there who's like specialist in an area, who kind of done it before themselves and helping lots of other people. So it's like problem solving before those problems come up, because they're going to bring you awareness of things that are outside of your awareness. So that's time saving and energy saving and all those things. But with the goal setting, I think part of it is just, once you've set your goals, it's like working on them one at a time and not loads at a time. So every week I have 3 goals. I set myself per week, and it doesn't mean if I have to do all 3, but 3 is the max I'll go to. They're quite specific, and then actually just stop the other things and just put my head down and do that item. So that I wasn't thinking, I need to do this, I need to do that. I was just keeping myself mind clear, just doing that goal and not thinking about the bigger picture for the moment. Otherwise that would have distracted me. And in terms of how the goal planner fits in, and how your notes that you give to me once we've had the sessions, and the item in terms of like the caseload planner, they were all tiny things, because I've always used planners. My problem with planners is that you have to buy 3 different planners. And this planner was already written by somebody who was a social worker in business, but they weren't excluding the rest of life. So I'm able to use the planner as I want, rather than how the person who's written it wants, because I can take away pages, add pages. So because I'm a goal setter, I was able to use it to its full effect, because it's got goals on everything. It's got kind of your personal life. It's got all your dimensions of your life. As long as we work holistically, and it's when things don't work in one area, or when things don't work in another area, that things fall apart or don't work. So with that goal plan, you're able to consider all the elements together. It's all there in front of you in this one little book, which is fantastic, and you can carry it around with you, and still use all your electronic diary, because that's what you need at work, but it makes it quite accessible. And in terms of the case, like the secret system, that was a really good thing, because I was going back into social work, and I'd not so much forgot, but the timelines for children and that sort of thing, in terms of assessments, and having a caseload planner and that sort of thing. It's a massive trick. It's a massive thing for me. I've always used a caseload planner, but I've never seen one. Like, I was going back into it, I was like, I'm going to have to write myself a new one. And you were like, oh, you don't have to, because I've got one. I was like, oh, that's really weird. And that was actually my next job on my to-do list. And
there you go. Saved you time.
And I was like, I saw it and I was like, no, that is actually that's better than what I'd be looking for on the internet, because that was one of my searches to do that. And then it was like, oh, the heavens have just sent it me. So it was brilliant.
Okay, excellent. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. That's exactly why I create these things, because I know what it's like being in local authority. Obviously, I worked for over 15 years in it myself, frontline child protection, so I know what it's like. And I think my experience has been for social workers, they come to me and they don't have a clue where to start in becoming independent. So I show them and teach them that. But then even when they're clear about now what they need to do, the getting it done is difficult because they're working for somebody and they're tired. They've got huge caseloads, so they're dealing with so many things personally and professionally. So being sorted and getting organized and having a system that they can rinse and repeat, that saves them time and allows them to be efficient in their work, allows them to see the time that they actually have available. And the goal planner fits in with that, because it does just that. It's a working book that they can take with them and utilize, and all the systems work together and ultimately help you to become independent, or whatever goal that you've got, whether it's work related or otherwise, health related, whether it's about exiting social work, that's what it's about. So thank you so much, so much, Manj, for sharing your story with our viewers and showing them that despite whatever you're going through, you can still make strides towards independence. And so I'm hoping, guys, that this has been inspiring for you and that you're encouraged by Manjit's story and testimony, and that you'll keep going on your journey. So please do reach out to me if you want to become part of the Launchers Club, where I give you free information and much more about becoming independent. And please do join us. It's hello@NicoleMLouis.com. You can email me and I will add you to the list. So I'm super duper excited about your future, as well as Manjit's and so many others. And so I'll look forward to seeing you in the next interview. Take care for now.